because some real damage is done that follows somebody for a long time once that
Oh,
eviction
yeah.
occurs.
Yeah, they might. I mean, it would keep them from getting, being able to rent another apartment or purchasing a home or things like that.
So, Judge Joyce, in eviction cases, is it the court's responsibility to assist litigants in exploring alternatives to eviction? Why or why not?
So is it the court's responsibility? And the answer is no, it's not the court's responsibility. The court's responsibility is to ensure that in eviction cases that the plaintiff has followed all the steps necessary within the law to evict this individual. It's also the court's responsibility to ensure that the defendant's rights have been protected. And as far as finding some alternatives, that's not within the court's purview, but there are situations where the court will offer both parties more time to see if they can come to a reasonable separation of their living arrangements to so that perhaps that this the finding of the eviction won't be on the defendant's credit record. And a number of times both parties will say, yeah, you know what, can you just give us a little bit more time to see if we can work this out? Matter of fact, I just had one recently. It was a foreclosure on a home, and the individual plaintiff, he wanted the home, and the person whose home it had been before it was bought out of a tax lien, they didn't want to move, or they wanted more time. And so, they wound up before me, and the plaintiff and them said, oh, you know what, we're going to talk. They had a conversation outside of the court, and then they came back and they asked me, can you give us 3 more weeks? We think we can resolve this. And if we can't resolve it, then we'll come back before the court. But like I said, it has to be both up to both parties.
Yeah.
It's something the judge can't say, hey, this is what you're going to do in those situations. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like what you're saying is they cannot, it's not the court's responsibility to get that involved, but they can
Right.
suggest that, hey, let's being the voice of reason here,
Right.
that it would make more
Right.
sense for you guys to mediate. And what I like you're coming at is from that perspective of, because some real damage is done that follows somebody for a long time once that
Oh, yeah.
eviction occurs.
Yeah, they might. I mean, it would keep them from getting, being able to rent another apartment or purchasing a home or things like that. And so if they're able to keep that off their record and still satisfy the plaintiff that, they are going to move out. Because I mean, what people don't realize either is that, I make the decision, I make the ruling that, yeah, this person's evicted. They have so many days that they can appeal my ruling. And then after they appeal my ruling, they have, it's called trial de novo. It goes to county court and they have a whole new trial. Well, they have to get on the county court docket to do that. And so if they're able to, mediate this amongst each other before it wounds up in county court and gets on their docket, and it could be, some time before it's heard, a lot of times they'll agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And less damage to both parties at that point, which is obviously that's optimal. Yeah. I like I like the overview that you give of these things, and you really see the big picture. So I appreciate that, because that's what I think is important. Is sometimes people can get so micro, like, if I'm a plaintiff and I'm angry because I'm not, a contract's not being honored or whatever. Sometimes people can get really into that anger or ego or whatever. And so if the court has an opportunity to kind of just be that voice of reason of, I'd like to encourage you to work this out amongst yourselves and think about the cost involved, whether that's, money, or whether that's, these opportunities to rent in the future or whatever. That's powerful. I think that's awesome. So thanks for sharing that.
And that's one of the discretions at the JP court, that we do have, that we can, we can give them more time to try to resolve the situation. And sometimes they can't, and even at times like that, the plaintiff could say, no, I don't want any more time. I want to go through with this eviction. And like I said, as long as they followed the steps and the rights were protected for the defendant, I'll give them the eviction, and they can move forward then.
Sometimes